Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Strand Tennis Center podcast, filled with tips, advice, tennis, not tennis, just life advice too, whatever you need. Like it on YouTube, share it on the podcast as well. Thank you.
The espresso smells so good. I've been off the coffee for how long, Santi? What do you think?
Month and a half?
No, since the end of August. 2 months, basically.
2 months. Oh, that's pretty good.
I do feel very good. So do you know the...
Do you feel like you have natural energy?
I've been reading, yes. I'm less ups and downs, obviously, but I've read about the natural... Read this book by Matthew something, Why We Sleep. You know the half-life of caffeine? You know what it does?
What does it do?
Well, caffeine can be very healthy for you as well. I'm not saying it's unhealthy for you, but caffeine... 50% of the caffeine only leaves your system in about 5 hours. So there's a half-life to it. So after about 5 hours of that caffeine, there's another 50% of it that lasts another 5 to 6 hours. So if you have caffeine, say, in the morning, 10 hours later, it's still in your system at 9 o'clock at night.
Oh.
So it lasts a long time. And there's a specific enzyme, which I don't know the name, which I was reading and listening to, that certain people can metabolize caffeine better. And some people can, and that's why it affects their system a ton. Some people can't drink caffeine because they can't handle
like
it.
heart problems and stuff.
Thanks for that shot. It's served too. They can't handle the caffeine.
Yeah.
So there's DNA tests for that, where if you have a certain or lack a certain enzyme, that caffeine will affect you for a while.
Oh, really?
I think I'm really sensitive to caffeine. I don't think I have the enzyme. That's just me. Whoa, balls
That's
flying
pretty,
through.
That's pretty cool.
I can't believe they're serving at us, Santi. But
That's all right.
so you can have caffeine, and when I drink caffeine, I feel it immediately. My wife is like, "There's just no way."
That's
I
awesome.
think it's true. And it was like, there's something with this, and I never knew. And I was like, there is a physical reason why caffeine affects certain people.
Yeah.
Some people can metabolize it better in their system. So since I've been off caffeine, to me, the energy is so even.
Okay.
It's amazing. I do have like white tea and green tea, but I ice it, and that's a lot less caffeine. A ton less.
okay.
When you ice something, even iced coffee, it neutralizes the caffeine in it.
Does it?
Yeah.
Ah.
So
I only like
a straight
iced coffee.
hot black coffee has got so much more caffeine than an iced coffee. So I love these balls are hitting my chair. Dink, dink, dink. So I don't know how we got on this. Oh, I smelled your coffee.
Yeah.
It's so good. It smells so good. But I have a lot more energy. I feel a lot more even.
Okay.
Everything. Digestion-wise, system-wise, all of it. I feel better, and I think caffeine is not bad for you in general, but I think everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
It affects people differently. So that brings me to my topic anyways.
Okay.
If you've read this book by David Epstein called Range, good book. And I'm going to discuss in regards to tennis terms because he mentions Federer in it as well. And that's why we'll bring up coffee and espresso and different things. So I consider this book, Range, discusses the theories of saying, okay, do we concentrate on one thing? Let's equate it to sports. Let's concentrate, or music. Let's concentrate on one specific thing. We're 5 years old. All I'm going to do is play the cello the whole time.
Yeah.
Am I going to be better at the cello in the long run, or am I going to be worse? So there was also a book, Life of the Tiger Marn or something.
Hold on. Worse than who?
Am I going to be... Well, then this is what I can compare
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
So this is two different things. Like they did a comparison of Tiger Woods and Roger Federer, right?
Right.
Tiger Woods was playing golf when he was 3, blah, 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 has been very successful. Roger Federer did a wide range of things. Played different sports, didn't play tennis right away, didn't like play 12 hours a day when he was 5. And they're finding that the path to macro overall success for a more sample size of people, that Tiger Woods is the anomaly and Roger Federer is more of the norm. Okay. So really the most healthiest way to be more successful, and this doesn't say don't focus on one thing eventually, but when you're starting out, you need to try a wide range of things. So they did a study of musicians and the kids that tried the trumpet, the cello, the violin, then they discovered what they loved and they settled on it.
Yeah.
Had much more ability and aptitude to be good at it because they would practice something they liked and they wouldn't get burnt out. When a parent gives a child, and this is great to tell the parents here locally, if you give your child something to do and you tell them to do it and say, hey, you're going to play tennis at 5 and you're going to play every day, over a large sample size, that's not going to work. If you say, hey, kids, you can equate this, and this is good for all parents. I guess this part of the podcast, it's really just telling our local parents and everybody around, if they love lacrosse, have them play lacrosse. If they don't like tennis, don't have them play tennis. But you can equate this a simple way, equate it to food. What if I told you could only eat hamburgers your whole life?
That would suck.
That would suck, right?
Yeah.
What if I told you couldn't try anything else? It's very similar.
Yeah.
You want to try different things.
Yeah.
You want to see what you like. You want to see what you don't like. Mm-hmm. So that's exactly the same thing. If I take a 5-year-old and I say, you're only picking up a tennis racket, you're not going to play other sports, and that's it. Those kids aren't even adjusted. Like I grew up playing. My parents had me play everything. I played kids that did not play anything else. We would go to the beach or something, and the father would take the kid off the court, or take the kid off the beach, and play another 5 hours after we played 3.
That's crazy.
Those kids were so
they hated
maladjusted. It was such a mess. They just couldn't even. It was like they couldn't even function socially as well. It just didn't work. All of it was.
You think they hated it deep down?
Well, I think
I
think they hated their parents for it because they didn't love it.
Right.
So, what you got to do is give your child a wide range of choices. Have them play soccer. Have them play lacrosse. McEnroe was a great soccer player, right? They tried a lot of different things. You have to do that. That range is going to be a big key for them to go, oh, my God, I really love this, and I want to play it. It's like anything else. When you tell someone not to read a book, guess what happens? You burn a book. You say you can't read this book. Guess what happens?
They're going to be curious.
They're going to be curious, right?
Yeah.
So it's like anything. You have to take your child and you got to say, okay, I'm going to expose you to all these things, and then whatever you're good at, I'll double down on. And again, we go right back to employees. If I tell you, listen, you have to do, you got to wash the roof every day. It's the stupidest thing. That's not what you're good at. That's not what you're great at.
Yeah.
My job is to listen, understand, have you do a wide range of things, and go, okay, something's good at this. Let's double down on it. You're enjoying it.
Okay.
It's very rare because you only see the successes of Tiger Woods. You only see that. All the failures you don't see. So you're like, oh, my God, these 10 people did this and they succeeded. Well, how about the 30,000 people that just hate their parents and they're not successful?
Yeah.
Agassi did the same thing in his book Open. His father forced him to do this. He hated tennis. It really was not a good environment, but he got himself through it. He said, I got to get through it to be successful.
Yep.
But it wasn't a good relationship. But think about all of those relationships that are nasty, and the kid never makes any money and never is successful. So you got a terrible relationship.
You resent your parents
in
the long run.
You resent your parents, and you have no career in this. So Range is a good book for that. I think it's very, very key. And there was another chapter in the book which was quite interesting, how some of the most successful musicians, this is a long time ago, I'm going to get all the dates wrong, 1700s, were from homeless shelters. So people would drop the kid off to a homeless shelter, and this homeless shelter was just exposing them to all these different things, all this different music, all these different things to try, and then all of a sudden they found what they loved, and they instead of just keeping this narrow focus. You need your narrow focus when you find the thing you love. You can't, if you don't know what you want yet, you cannot have this narrow focus because it's coming from an outside source that's telling you to have that narrow focus. I mean, when I was a kid, I had older brothers. I mean, we played baseball, we played football, we played basketball, we played soccer. We really did everything. And that was enough. I mean, I was I guess I started taking tennis lessons. God bless you, Santi. I was starting to take tennis lessons when I was 10. So that's still young, but that 10 years or that 5 years, say when I was 5 to 10, is a big range to try different things.
Yeah,
and I wanted to stick with it. I remember taking my first tennis lesson with my brother. And my brother didn't want to do it anymore, and I liked it. And that was it, right? It was pretty simple that I wanted to do. And, of course, you always go back and forth. You always want to be a pain in the ass as a kid and say you don't want to do it, I don't want to play, blah, 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 and all those things. But that's not really... I don't remember that. That's not what I remember. Okay. I remember playing a sport that I like. So I think the biggest point here today is to tell parents to expose their kids to as many things as they can.
Yeah.
Whether it be sports, whether it be music, whether it be different education styles, because you want that kid, number one, to be well-rounded, but number two, to pick something that they like.
Yeah, that's
if
really
you pigeonhole
important.
them, it's just going to create animosity. And then, listen, it's very hard. Then it's the child's job, or not the child, but as you get older, your job is to tell your parents, if you piss them off, it's okay, but you got to tell your parents, look, I want to have a good relationship with you in the future. This is hard for kids.
Yeah.
I don't like this right now. This is what I want to do. But you can't just tell your parents, I don't want to do this. You have to give them an alternative. You can't just say, I don't want to do it. Say, listen, this is what I really love, and I'd like to try this. And I think we'll have a better relationship, and I'll be good at it. You cannot. I know, that's so hard to say. It sounds very mature. I know you're looking at me like you're crazy. I'd never do that. But I tell kids, you can't just say no to your parents. Right. So it works both ways. Parents have to give them a range, but the parents you just can't say, no, I don't want to do it.
Right.
Show some interest. Tell me what you want to do. Tell me you have an idea. Don't just say no, because that's just dumb too. Yeah. Because then you blame your parents for everything. It's all their fault. That's all bullshit. You don't want to do any of that. You want to say, oh, look, I appreciate you. And the kids look at me like crazy. I appreciate, Mom, you interested in wanting me to try this, but this is what I really like.
Yeah.
They just have your best interests at heart. They really do. Listen, we're all messed up in a way. Parents are messed up too. But they really, 90% of them really want best for their kids. And they're just shooting at the dark, trying to figure out what you may like.
That makes sense.
So keep a wide range. Try a lot of different things.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I teach a lot of kids tennis here. So I've had a lot of the kids, some are interested, some semi-interested, and some really love it. The ones that are, semi-interested, you can tell that, when you start talking to them one-on-one, oh, yeah, what'd you do this weekend? And they're like, oh, I did this, I did that. You find out what they really like, and then, you tell them, if you really like that, you should do more of what you really like, if it's a sport or if it's an art or, music, whatever. Even if it's just reading or studying, if you really like education or learning, then that's great. Yeah. Double down on those type of things because you'll enjoy it a lot more. Don't force yourself. Come play tennis if you enjoy it, but don't tell your mom or dad I really like ice skating. I really like hockey.
Yeah.
I like whatever, and I want to do that more than I want to do tennis. And that's okay, because you would put way more energy and effort into something you really like rather than something that you're forced or not necessarily forced to do all the time. And as you get older, maybe you've been stuck doing tennis for a while, and then you want to try other things, or you feel like you're in a rut and you have to keep doing it just because your parents spent some money making you do it. And that's not, in the long run, you're not going to, if you're not passionate about it, it's not the same. Yeah.
So, we're saying
that's
the same
how
thing.
I found tennis.
But I will tell kids again, you can't be like, hey, I want to do this, and then do it until you're 30 and not make any money, your parents are footing the bill. You can't do that shit either. You have to be, hey, if you want to do this, take a second job, or take a job, figure out how to pay for it. You can't do that either. You can't be like, hey, my mom won't let me be what I want. I don't make any money, but they can pay for it. No, they can't.
Like a starving artist.
That's not the way it works either. You want to try. I'm not telling kids to say, do what you want, and mommy will pay the bill or daddy will pay the bill. That's not the way it is. You have to, You want to really do something, you really want to figure it out, you really want to do something that doesn't make much money in the beginning, then you're going to have to figure out how to live, figure out how to do it. You can't expect them to foot the bill. If they say, hey, we'd like you to do this and you don't like it, then you got to figure out how to pay for it. Like, it doesn't work that way. It works both ways. So be very careful about that. If you really love what you do, you can figure out how to make money at it. Like, you will be able to figure it out.
Yeah.
But try a lot of different things. And to me, that's what college for. To me, college is like a fantasy, right? It's being paid for. I tell every kid, that's the biggest networking area you can. You got 4 years to try everything, do different things,
There's
start
so
a
many
little
different
business.
Clubs too, and
yeah,
like
clubs,
things
make,
to do,
don't,
sports to do.
some kids put their head down, get all A's, and don't meet anybody.
Yeah.
And they focus on one thing. That's what they were saying in this book. These kids are not learning in school wide ranges of stuff. They're learning their one area of expertise, and that's not really good enough.
Yeah.
You need a wider range. So that's why when you go to school, take all these different classes, meet all these different people, meet as many people as you can. You know, how many talks they have at school where you could meet? Like Bill Gates is talking at Harvard. Like, I mean, that's an extreme, right? Go to all those talks, too. They're free.
Yeah.
Your parents are paying for it. You know, so go to all those talks, meet all those people. Work in the summer for a startup. Do something that you have different experiences at, because that's the only kind of window of you're an adult, but you're not an adult because you're being paid for it, to be able to test a wide range of things and to be able to settle on. I tell every kid, start a little business in school. Why don't you?
Yeah.
What's the difference? If you're studying and stuff like that, it's kind of fantasy land. You're going to do your job. You're going to have your studies that you're going to do, but experiment and try different things. Yeah. And it may not be a business. It may be saying, I want to, I don't know, take pictures or take photos or
anything.
Being part of a chess club. I have no idea.
There's so many different clubs.
Yeah.
Like when I was in college, there's so many different things in clubs and organizations that you could do. You could do like nighttime soccer with people. You could do like an art club. You could do a movie club. You do rock climbing. Anything. Pretty much anything that exists, somebody's made a club for it because somebody wants to do it and wants to share their love for it. And then you do have those kids who study all the time. And then but then when they're relaxing, they're like sitting there playing their instrument or playing their video game because that's what they do to relax. And, you know, maybe they found out that's what they enjoy, you know.
But you can make money doing that, too.
Yeah, and other kids, you know, you got to find especially college kids and young adults who are trying to find a job that they like. The struggle, I remember when I was in my 20s, it was like, oh, I got to find my perfect job. And it's like there's probably no perfect job unless you create it yourself somehow, you know. You got to dabble at things. You might work at a company for a year or two. You might not like it. You switch companies. It's fine to switch. And it used to be taboo where you shouldn't switch and it looks bad. Whatever. No, do what you want. Yeah.
Well, that's normal now. People switch all the time. Because companies don't have as much loyalty to the person anyways. It used to be my father worked for GE for 50 years, right?
Yeah.
They took care of you.
Yeah.
It changes now.
Yeah.
That's understandable. You had me thinking of something. So college, wide range of stuff. Like, if you read an article for the last 3 semesters, college enrollment is down across the nation.
Really?
Why do you think that is?
I'm not surprised. I think that's awesome. Because I'm not saying you need college, but a lot of things that people are interested in, if you can do it yourself or be passionate about it and build a career around it, you know, then that works too. But also I feel like people are slightly depressed after COVID. People are like a little down.
Okay, sure.
Those are my 2 arguments, I guess.
There's 2, but to me, if our enrollment was down 3 seasons in a row, what did you think we would discuss? Like if we came in and we had a terrible fall, we lost money winter, we lost money in the spring.
We have to see if people actually want to play tennis in general. You know, maybe there's something else people are interested in. And if people are not interested in college, maybe they're not learning the right things. They're not giving them the right tools.
My first inclination would be like, what am I doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? Colleges got to realize what they're doing wrong.
It's robotic.
Think about how expensive it is.
Yeah.
And are you getting the value out of that expense? So you have to be very careful. College is a business like anything else.
Right.
It's not a right. It's a privilege to do it. So if it's $70,000 a year, and you have an English degree, and you come out making $40,000 a year after you just paid $70,000, like you have to look at the value that you get back. You have to be really careful for schools. They have to look at it. They're running a business. They're saying, hey, we got to make this more valuable. What's going on? Kids aren't enrolling. Kids are coming out of school. Sometimes they're going back to technical schools, which are huge.
Yeah.
Plumbers. And,
they make a lot of money.
We need
Those guys make a lot of money.
And there's a lack of them because all of these kids now in our generation are the kids that are getting older. These kids now, the millennials, they're all looking for internet jobs, cybersecurity jobs, computer science jobs. There's not enough technical jobs anymore. We need people to fix things.
Right. And
there's a huge value in that, and we're losing that. And really, technical schools were huge in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Now they're going to come back because all of a sudden, if Google starts its own school, all these people start their own school, I see Google starting to pluck kids out when they're 18 and 19. Go, we'll teach you what you need to learn. We think you have an aptitude, you're smart. If that happens, and colleges and investment banks don't require degrees, if they start to do that, it's going to be a big issue for colleges.
Yeah.
Because what if, now look, I've seen kids get recruited. They start a business at 19. This is an anomaly. And the MIT goes, listen, you're in already or you can go for free, but Google comes, hey, we're going to hire you.
Yeah.
You're going to take that job.
Yeah. Why would you? Google's going to teach me everything anyway, and that's what I want to work for anyway in the long run.
So these schools have got to be careful. That's why they have to provide a super range of things, and they have to lower the price. They're going to have to start lowering the price. What's going to happen is just like society, the technical schools are going to be successful. Harvard, the name brands will always be there, like Nike and all those things. But everything in the middle is going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to pay $50,000 to go to a medium range school.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just going to go in the workforce. So that's a whole other thing that schools had better be careful. And I think school is very valuable. Poo-pooing school, medical degrees, engineer degrees, things that you need school for. Sure, but you got to be very careful. These liberal arts degrees.
Yeah.
Where you're not really guaranteed anything after work. Usually if you go to medical school, you'll probably be a doctor. It's going to happen. So schools have got to be careful. They have to realize it's a business like anything else. They used to have, think about school, right?
Right.
How much is an application? $60, $90?
Yeah.
So say you apply to 10 schools, you don't get into 8. You don't get that money back.
No.
How much schools make millions of dollars just on the applications?
Yeah.
And you have to fill out an application for the right to pay money to go to that school.
Yeah.
They've created an incredible system.
Yeah.
They better appreciate it and make sure that the value... I'm waiting for a school to cut tuition. I'm waiting for one of the first schools to cut it and say, hey,
lower it,
this is too expensive.
Yeah.
So we talked about a lot of stuff today, but really try a lot of things. Make sure you're getting the value out of school. And again, don't shit on your parents. Do your thing. Like, parents need to, both people, but parents need to, not force their kid to do one thing, but the kids can't just be like, I want to be a free spirit and give me money. Can't do that either. So basically the overall topic is if your kid doesn't like tennis, don't have him play. We've been through this, and I've been through parents, and I've said, listen, I don't think this is for your kid or your son or your daughter. They're not having a good time. They don't come here, and I always tell every parent, why we tell them to do a trial. I tell them to do a trial. I call them on the phone. Or they talk to me on the phone. I say, do a trial, because it is a commitment. It's 14 weeks. And the last thing you want to do is have to drag your kid here. Mm-hmm. Have the trial. Have them try it. Have them say yes to it. Have them engage in it. Mm-hmm. Instead of you saying, you're doing this class, you have to be here.
Yeah.
I don't care about, the business is not important. It's about having people here that want to play and want to enjoy it. So come to a trial, enjoy the class first, and then when your kid says, I want to do it, it's a win. Then your kid's coming. The worst is when you have to drag your kid. I've done it with my son, too. You try to put him in a camp, and he's like, I hate this shit. I don't want to go. I'm like, I got to drag him every day because I spent the money, blah, blah, blah.
It's worse when you have to teach a kid that doesn't want to be there.
I know.
That's even worse.
It's the worst. It's the worst. So that's why we tell parents, when they even say, oh, the kid said he wants to do it, and then in 3 weeks they don't want to be here, like, listen, I don't think your son wants to be here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I think it's best if he doesn't come, because it creates a negative environment everywhere. A negative environment in your house, a negative environment here. The kid doesn't appreciate it. He's not happy. And then we also appreciate the person spent this kind of money and say, listen, take this money back. It's not working. It's not about the money. It's about what's important, about what's happy for the kid. So that's a big deal. So that's how we whittle this down to what we do, too, inside of the range. Make sure your kid buys into the class and that they enjoy it. That's all I had to say today. Next week, we have a good topic about mental preparation, but a little teaser, how do you handle a group and you're in it and the fourth person is just a mean person? How do you handle that dynamic with dealing with it in pickle? Pickle especially. We're going to talk about pickle. Yeah, when you deal with it. So we'll talk about that next week. But the answers and the actions, everybody. Santi, it's great to see you as always. Your perm still looks fantastic, by the way.
I have a wedding tomorrow, so
Look at you.
I better look
Where's
good.
the wedding?
Somewhere in North Jersey. One of my close friends from high
That's
school.
nice. Is he happy, like excited? Is it
It's a
like
chick.
nice relationship?
Yeah. They're really nice.
That's nice.
Really good couple.
Good.
Sweet
Your
people.
age?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you, 32 now?
I am 33.
So 33
Steve.
was your
Yeah.
birthday.
No, yeah.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
old.
You're not
I
old,
feel
Santi.
old.
Santi, you're out of your
Yeah.
mind.
I feel old.
No, you know, guess what it is? Second quarter of your life, basically. That's
I
it, buddy.
guess. Yeah. Second.
Second quarter. All right, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Hope you like the podcast. Please share it with your friends, anybody that you know, anybody that's into tennis, anybody that's into bettering themselves. Share it.